name is Antony Mwaniki. I've had the privilege of being involved in the setting up of a number of businesses, and I love to share the experiences, the lessons I've learned on that journey. I believe that these lessons would be valuable and help other entrepreneurs in their own journey. Today we have a 15-minute board session where I'll be speaking with an entrepreneur, and we'll be discussing the challenges that she's facing in setting up her own business and seeking to find solutions that she can use to deal with her challenges. And so I have Fiona Njagi, who will tell us a little bit about her business. Fiona, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am Fiona Njagi, as mentioned. I am the CEO and founder of the Fiona Njagi Group. The Fiona Njagi Group is a crisis management company that helps government and private businesses solve crises in Kenya. Now,
Fiona, as we were chatting, you've told me that there are a few challenges that you've been facing as you're seeking to set up your business.
Yes.
Maybe you could just share one or two, and we can just have a conversation as to what are the solutions that are out there. What can I share from my own, the lessons from my journey to help you?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest challenges at the moment is I have a very big dream of what I want to do. I want to change the mindsets of Africans. So how do I take that from this big dream to down here to the starting point?
I think what I've learned is, as you said, many entrepreneurs have a very often, the good thing is they have that large vision. And it's easy to, as you said, to get stuck in that large, it's so big that you don't know where to start. I think the first thing is to say, what is at the basic level are you trying to do? I've heard you talk about crisis management. So from what I hear is what you want to do is to be able to help, yes, the African continent, but the African continent is made up of individuals, it's made up of businesses, it's probably made up, in this country, it's made up of counties, it's made up of different institutions. And so I begin to ask which institutions, which individuals, which businesses can I begin to provide the services for as a way of starting to grow myself towards that ultimate goal of what I want to do to change the narrative about Africa. Are there certain organizations, institutions that are, if I start with them, not only will I learn, but it will give me working with them will help them because they are involved in dealing with a lot of challenges that the African community face. It will help them. Africa is the big thing, but it starts with the individual. So who is my customer at an individual level, and how can I begin to give them services? Which are the companies that I can begin to provide this service that then begins to allow me not only to influence them, but give me a platform that I can influence the wider nation and hopefully the wider continent.
How does a day job affect you being an entrepreneur? I mean, in terms of how much time you give and, how does it affect me having a day job right now and also having my own company at the same time?
I think the one challenge, I've found when you have a day job, and it is the issue of priorities. How do you prioritize? What do you prioritize? You see, once you have a job, you have a commitment to meet certain goals. But if you set up your company, if I'm your client, I expect you to be there.
Yeah.
So you're in crisis management. If the crisis happens now, and you're sitting in a boardroom of where you're employed, what do? You find that do I leave? There's a tension that is created. There's a conflict, and so I think the key thing for any entrepreneur is to be able to make the decision to say about the opportunity. Do you see this opportunity as big enough for you to be willing to take certain risks for it? Are you willing to step out? And I say it's not necessary that you just wake up one morning and go, but you can begin to have a plan. Maybe you're in a place where you're doing a lot of the research work, you haven't yet got your clients, and so you say, I can work on it, and I can start small, I can put in the necessary structures, and use this job to begin to help me put aside also some money that will help me with the startup of the business. I also believe that no experience is wasted. So I think many times entrepreneurs look, and because you're unhappy and there's this tension, this pull to go and start your own business, you almost think that this is really useless. There's a lot of things that you're learning that will be useful. But I would say then begin to plan and say within the next X number of months, within the next, and that I would say months rather than years, because years then tends to be a long way out. Just say within the next number of months, I will have stepped out of my employment and begin to give full-time attention to my business. I have started a business where myself and all the other people who started it were part-timers, and we employed people, and we thought, we've got this covered. We have employees, we have the business model, we have everything, but so we can do our other business and every evening come and meet our employees. But it became apparent very quickly that it's often very difficult to run such a business, especially at startup level. And we just found that there were certain challenges that required, as a business, especially as the business grew, that now began to require somebody of a certain skill level to be part of that business. And because none of us were able to leave, we eventually really had to fold the company. So my call is to begin a plan of how you will step out of employment and give attention to your business, because if your dream is big enough, if you see the opportunity is real for you, then it is best to give it the attention that it deserves.
There's this, we're being bombarded every day with these entrepreneurs who sort of seem to make it in under a year, and they're worth, millions. How do we not let us affect, how we think in terms of, wanting to get rich now, or successful now, or,
Fiona, to be honest, when I listen to those stories, I find myself a little surprised when I'm told that somebody made money quickly. I ask myself, how did they do it? Because I have my own experience in business, and even from what I have read of other people, great entrepreneurs, building a business is a process. It takes time. By and large, I think all research has shown that it takes between 7 and 10 years for a business really to now reach that point where you're talking about it. Take Google. By the time most of us knew Google, it had been in operation for about 10 years. Everyone who will build a sustainable business, it takes a while. So for me, it's just to encourage you and say, recognize it takes time. It's like a baby. There's growing from a childhood to an adult. It takes time. I think there's somebody who said was asked once, are there any great men born here? He said, no, only babies. There were no men who were born men. They were born as babies and they grew to be great men. And so I would say put the effort. I think there's research done by I know there's research done by a journalist called Malcolm Gladwell, which he turned into a book called Outliers. And in that book, he talks about 10,000 hours. He says if you want to be an expert, you have to put in at least 10,000 hours. And by his calculations, 10,000 hours usually works up to between 7 and 10 years of doing the same thing. So every soccer star, music star, business person, politician who is good at what they do, if you really look behind them, you'll find that they've put in a lot of time with ups and downs that has brought them to where they are. And so mine is just as you start your business, commit yourself to a journey. I believe that's why they call it the entrepreneur journey. It's a journey, it's not an event.
My other question would be, how do you identify mentors, and are they important in the entrepreneurial process? Can you go it alone?
The entrepreneurial journey, let me say, is not a journey that one can walk alone. There's really no one person who can be said to have all the knowledge that they can do things by themselves. And so you must have people you work with. Some of them will be your peers. Some of them will be your partners. Some of them will be, as you said, your mentors. I think mentors are very valuable. Why do I feel mentors are valuable? Because they have been where you're trying to go. And so they know the potholes along the way, they know the things that you should do. They have a lot of experience. Someone said that the best, we're always told that you learn from experience. But I think someone said the best thing is not to learn from your own experience, but from other people's experience, because then you don't repeat their mistakes.
That's actually quite true and good. Yeah, I think that's all I had for now. I'm very grateful for answering my questions. Hopefully next time we meet we'll have some progress to discuss.
Thank you. It's great to have spent this time. And let me just encourage you, every business starts somewhere. It requires a lot of effort, but every business that we've seen was started by somebody who had a dream just like yours. So work at it, and I'm sure some years from now we'll be having a place where you're the one telling entrepreneurs how to get to their goals.
I know, I'd love to do that side.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So thank you very much for watching. Remember, as we discussed with Fiona, that growing and setting up a business starts with a dream, but it's a journey. It's a process. It's not an event. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, but it is worth it. So let me, as you go out, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, don't be discouraged. Know that you have started the first step in your journey to building a great institution. Let me invite you to like, to share, or to comment about what you've watched. And also let me invite you that to join our community. We'll be having similar discussions with other entrepreneurs to learn together about how we can build great and enduring businesses. To join our community, click on the link below. Thank you.